Hello out there, YouTube. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's your old pal, Dustin Brewer, Zephyr Drone Simulator, your brand manager, your client success manager, your walking companion through all things Zephyr and drone. And look at all these fine faces I'm bringing you today. Look at this. It's a buffet of veritable powerhouses in drone and education. With me, as always, my compatriot, my counterpart, the illustrious and slightly wounded Bo Van Buren. Bo, how's it going, buddy?
Turn my mic on. If it doubles up, it's going to be unfortunate, but whatever.
Happens.
Just it's always some new injury for me. However, we're kicking it. We've got some of my favorite people.
Your leg doesn't work.
I can kick with my left. I've got a crutch for the right. It'll be okay. We got some of my favorite people from the drone space. And some are just my BFFs for real.
That's me.
Yeah, Bo, introduce our buddies today. These are some longtime friends of Zephyr, LAS, and for you personally, who I've had the unique pleasure of getting to know the last few months. And I'm so excited to have you guys as our first guests on the show. So who do we got with us, Bo?
Yeah, so we have Christian Sekera. He does the I believe the social media and is more on the gun side at SDI, but I'll let them get more in depth in their own stuff in a moment. We've got James McDaniels here. I believe he's got a lot going on. And we've got Don here as well. So we've got, two guys definitely from the drone side of things on SDI's front, and then Christian's here for the aesthetic.
Yeah.
And quite the aesthetic it is. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I know this is a little bit of a new format. It's still relatively new for us, but I'm really excited that you're here and share some knowledge about who and what SDI is and how we're all related in this thing together.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like we've got Stu jumped in the chat. So welcome back, Stu. And we'll be keeping an eye on the chat as well, kind of guiding the conversation. But yeah, guys, just tell the people who you're Christian,
who you are, what you do, where they can find you.
Staring at your wall behind you. In my previous life, that was pretty much.
I mean, there's drones over here too.
There's
somewhere
drones,
right there. There's a drone. Oh no, that's anime. There's a drone. There's a couple.
That's awesome.
So I'm Christian. I'm the events and media specialist here.
That's the title.
But I do both. So I go both ways, firearms and drones. I'm learning more and more about the drones than I am the firearms. I was a gun guy before I started here. And my first year as event coordinator, I worked CES and got enlightened to the world of UAS by the people who wrote our curriculum originally. So it's a crazy space, and I'm glad I'm in it.
For sure.
That it is, for sure. James, would you like to go next?
Yeah, the crazy space is definitely an accurate statement at this point. So my name is James McDaniels. I'm the director of the uncrewed technology programs here at the Sonoran Desert Institute. And throughout my time, I got started as a radio controlled aircraft pilot, flying on live aircraft, and then switched over to simulators. Got started down the commercial drone pathway. Been involved as a pilot, technician, trainer, flight training and manager, director in other programs, and also a commercial flight operations manager for commercial delivery operations throughout the UAS industry. But throughout that entire time, I've been involved in training in different ways. So it's cool to be in a position where training is the main focus, especially here at Sonoran Desert Institute, where we have such a large reach and capability to teach a vast amount of others about this amazing technology that we have right now.
Yeah, right on. Well said. That's awesome. Dawn, would you like to round us out?
Yeah. So I'm Don Heon. I've been in the industry for just over 12 years. I started like most people start on YouTube. You know, you learn how to build a drone and you get excited about it.
Hmm.
Pretty soon I end up going to college for it, managing the laboratory. And at that point, I kind of got into the education space because it was real fun to kind of highlight those light bulb moments for the students. And then
Mm.
that's where I ended up gravitating towards. So since my time in college at age 30, I'm 40 now. It's just been all about the education space, and that's what I really love to do. So I'm the SDI specialist here at or the UAS specialist at SDI, and I got hired on about a year and a half ago, and I've just been loving it.
That's awesome.
That's
Right
exciting.
on.
Yeah.
That's super exciting. Well, everybody that's tuning in knows, who Bo and I are, and glad that they know who you are. But I think it'd be great to know who and what is SDI. James, you wanna take that one?
So yeah, and Christian, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff, of course, but you can cover it well enough.
You'll know more than I do.
Kind of got to at this point. Otherwise, we're in trouble, aren't we?
Right.
In any case, so Sonoran Desert Institute, it got started back in the early 2000s and primarily focused on the gunsmithing and firearms technology side. And that's been the bread and butter of the school for a long time now. But back in 2022, the Certificate of Uncrewed Technology Aerial Systems program was released by Sonoran Desert Institute as another school, another training vertical. And then in December of 2024, we had our first classes start for our Associates in Uncrewed Technology program. So, what we focus on in the certificate side is mainly getting someone started in the industry, teaching
Mhm.
them how to be a pilot, not just there's a lot of programs out there that are just Part 107. Like you go in there, you memorize the questions and answers, and then you go and try to pass the test. We focus on teaching you the same knowledge, but at the same time, having you apply it practically. That's the big thing here at
Got it.
SDI is the practical hands-on skills. Just because we're an online school doesn't mean that you're going to lack or just sit at a computer and not necessarily get all those hands-on practical skills that you would expect. Getting flight hours in both the Zephyr simulator as well as drones that we send for the classes, and also through the practical assignments that kind of forces you to get out there and actually fly it and show us that you have those practical flight skills. Because when you go to employers, it's not just about having that shiny little certificate from the FAA. It's about showing your capabilities and what you can actually do through your experience. So
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
yeah. So that's what we mainly focus on, and then also on the drone development side and going down more specific pathways in the associate's degree program. So that's what we focus on here at SDI.
Okay, cool. So it's actually a degreed program. That's awesome.
Yep.
And you said you actually do you supply the drone every time to a student, or do they go get their own? Like, how does that work?
Yes, sir. We supply the students with all the course equipment that they need to go through the program.
That's
So
awesome.
they get access to the Zephyr simulator. They get a RoboLink co-drone EDU in UAS 101. We supply them with a small drone to get started live, but we like the mantra of following through the first Zephyr simulator first, go through the simulator, get some experience on there, and then get into the live flight. And then in courses like UAS 250 that focus on that Part 107 operations, while they're learning about the different knowledge, they're going out and actually doing more basic practical maneuvers with drones like Tenzak Atom SC. And then in the ASUT program, we're actually sending them kits of aircraft that they're building, so, like the one I have behind me on the desk, where they're getting us components, they're building it, they're flashing it to the firmware, they're going through the full setup and going out and doing flight validation and testing on all those aircraft and equipment, as well as different sensors that we send them to. So it's not just the drones, it's the different sensors that are used on them as well that we send them.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So it's kind of like with the gunsmithing program, you're drone smithing.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, that's what it sounds like. Is like know the tool you're working with.
Yeah, in and out. That's crazy.
James was a master dronologist at one point.
Well, I started out at SDI as an adjunct instructor, but then I got pulled in as the master dronologist, which is now the UAS specialist position that Don is
gotcha.
holding.
We have master gunsmith here.
I would change it back. Master dronologist sounds so much funkier.
Well, try being at shows and people seeing your title and tag and asking, "How do you get that title?"
I would have just changed my business card.
Right?
Master drone.
They shrink me down. They put me in the drone itself, and then
Drone on.
Drone on. Apologist.
Not drone side. Drone on.
That's
Well, we
fantastic.
couldn't call it on cruise, could we? Wait a second. Darn.
You'd have to
No,
change
that's
it
really
from
cool.
you change it from the U to the E. Uncrude.
On cruise. That's nope. That's we've exhausted all of my French already.
Batteries depleted. That one fell flat. Sorry.
So I guess that kind of you mentioned Zephyr a couple times, and again, this is one of the first partnerships that I learned about when I came on with Zephyr back in June. So tell me about some of that, how that relationship developed, and kind of where you've seen that evolve. Whoever wants to take that, I'm just curious to learn more about how the lore behind it.
So it all started in the year 2022, I believe. But in all seriousness, the relationship between Zephyr and SDI, I started hearing about when I first became an adjunct instructor back in 2022, but quickly got involved with speaking with individuals like Bo, Kyle, and then other Alex as well
Mhm.
for, okay, how do I get access as an instructor? How do I download it? Get exposure to it. And at first, I will say, like compared to available other simulators or the lack thereof that was out there, it was a nice welcoming surprise because it had a way for me as an instructor to track my students' progress throughout the time that they're using the simulations that we're having them go through for these practical assignments. So for me, that was a pleasant surprise, and the fact that, especially for an online school, the technical requirements weren't that of like, oh, hey, you need like 32 gigabytes of RAM, or you need like the latest CPU core processor, or all this great big stuff that you'd see on this big beefy gaming computer. Like, no, it was very accessible that a
Mhm.
lot of students or a lot of people get access to and use it effectively. So
Cool.
from there, it's just we've sent it to all of our students. It's great that the system has grown over time and we have additional features in there. And it's cool that you guys have keep adding new different application modules in there
Mhm.
because we can incorporate them into some of our classes that are application or workflow based, like mapping, or you just released one for search and rescue. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yep.
And that uses thermal, that's really cool, to be honest with you, to simulate that.
It's coming
And
fast too. Like it looks incredible. We got some updated images, I think last week,
ooh,
and oh, it's going to be nice once we
yep.
roll that one out. That'll be a fun one to
Well,
share.
speaking of that, real quick, I know that when we were on y'all's podcast, we talked a lot about how we take feedback, and we like to kind of give it back. I've got answers to your thermal questions straight from CTO today. The thermal does allow us to simulate the frame rate and resolution. We can also mess with grain and artifacting, is what he said.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Yep, I'm tracking.
And then he also made a statement about the physics when we were talking about air and water. He said they're both technically fluids, so they use the same style of simulation. But that's about all we can say.
Got it. Well, I mean, that's pretty good fidelity. Like that's a high level of fidelity, even just for that, and to know that there's differences in resolution. That's a big deal because
Mhm.
we do cover that as a factor in our UAS 234 course, which focuses on the thermography side and understanding that for
Mhm.
different applications. So if you have that in there, it can be easily applied to a class like that for sure, and students can get that practical or simulated exposure to it instead of just the ground sensor that we send out. And it's decent sensor. It's a FlearView Pro
Yeah.
edge sensor that's I think it's a 640 by 512 resolution. But there's drones out there that are 640 by 512 higher or lower. So to know the difference and how that resolution affects what you're scanning or how close you have to fly to something, it's a factor that we want to teach and show other than them having to find that out in the field on their own. So
Oh yeah.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure I shared the anecdote last time about when I was first exposed to thermal imaging on a drone was middle of summer in North Carolina. Before that, I thought it was all video game style where everything was blue except for what you needed to interact with, but everything was orange. So it was definitely an eye-opening moment for me.
It's pretty awesome. They've done a lot of development on it. It's been a ton of work. I know it's going to be patent pending soon, so that's how proud of it we are because it is such a special thing. Point of order, though, before I forget, I was called out on this because you guys posted the podcast we did with you guys. I misspoke about something, which is totally unlike me. I'd never do that ever. Um, we do not utilize Unreal Engine. We use Unity because we are more substance over style. So
Yes.
we use Unity. So I was told
What
explicitly.
corrections do I have to make now? Okay.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, I'm
Late to the party.
technically not proficient. I had to have the guys help me build this computer next to me because I would think you just go buy one, and I mentioned that and I got yelled at. So they walked me through how to build a computer. So still getting all the technical aspects down, understanding the variants of language, but yes, it is Unity. So,
Yeah.
now we know.
Unreal Engine is very intensive. Like you play God of War or anything like that, that's Unreal Engine. And
That's honestly probably why I thought of it, because I watch a couple streamers that play Escape from Tarkov because
there you go. Yeah. Yeah.
such a punishing game and so intricate, but there's a lot of gun building in it, which I still find fascinating.
Nice.
And I hear that a lot. But anyway, so that's really cool to see how Zephyr's utilized in that to help build up those real world proficiencies, and to be a part of your curriculum is a really special thing. Like that's a lot of trust, and that's, I think when you fall into stuff like that, it's kind of special. Like how you found us, and we started to develop that relationship, and then being able to collaborate the way that we do.
You guys have been very,
pretty awesome.
very easy to collaborate with. Like if ever we have questions or comments or feedback from students and we pass them along, you guys are very fast to address and then also get back to us on that. So that's one thing I do appreciate about you guys, is that you're quick and you're responsive on those things, and then you also take the influx of the feedback and adapt to that as well for what's needed in the future. So it was a pleasant surprise, because some of the companies that I've reached out to in the past where simulator stuff are like they're set in their ways. They do not want to have to fix anything. They're like, oh hey, no, we're set. What do you mean make a version of this for Mac? Are you nuts? No, we're not doing that.
Who do you think you are?
Yeah. How dare you? How dare you ask me for a thing?
They're acting like they're the Apple or something,
Yeah.
Gotcha. Right on. So that was just some of the stuff that you were looking for as far as like building these tools. And you said adaptability. I'm kind of curious, like, what is it like, working in this space? Because I know what it's like for us, but I'm curious from y'all's side of things, especially with the things that come up in legislature, FAA. It's a constantly changing environment. Like, how are you guys adapting to those changes and then adding that into your curriculum?
I'll let Don start out with this one.
Well, being an online curriculum academic institution, we're forced to make changes. Like we can't stay behind. We have to stay on top of these changes. The legislation is coming out where, drone dominance is making more of a hindrance to us. So it's causing logistical supply chain issues. And we constantly have to adapt to that in order to grow with the program and the industry that's out there. And so it's definitely a constant battle, but we're always on top of it.
Well, and I think one of the best parts that kind of give us a heads up, uh, we've been doing the firearm stuff since 2000. And I don't know if you know, but the firearms industry, they make a lot of changes. So, and we
No.
teach to all 50 states. And so we have to have contingency on contingency on contingency and just be prepared to adapt our programs to whatever the legislative needs are, and then for our accreditation as well. And so James has been hands on and on in those processes for a while now.
SDI has a really good framework of adaptability as well, as far as our updates or even addressing student feedback or requests for improvements. We take all those very seriously. And then whenever even just the slightest hint of a new legislation or a new set of regulations comes out, we're all over it. We're tracking it, we're monitoring it, we're saying, okay, how does this affect our classes? what do we need to implement to start prepping for its release? What are the things that we can cover, at least, or change now to prepare for this as far as like new knowledge bases? Like everyone saw the Part 107 notice of proposed rulemaking, sorry, Part 108 notice of proposed rulemaking come out. We looked at it, analyzed it heavily, and said, what can we create that gets us ahead of this and preps us to train students to understand the big picture concept about it and what it covers, but also understanding that it's not something that's officially released yet. So, what do we put out that is to notify and inform students of that, while also getting prepared for when that rule officially releases, and then we have more updated materials that go along with that. Because, as you said, Dustin, this industry, and like Christian said, with the firearms industry, changes every year. So we have to keep track. We have to stay ahead of that. We have to have a system on the back end that allows us to make changes to the courses and then put them out so that our students can see those changes. So, because the last thing we want to do is put out students that are not necessarily up to date with what's going on in the industry, for sure.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest things. And I agree. I think the adaptability working in the firearms industry, coming from that industry myself at eon ago, it does constantly change almost with every election cycle, be that whichever way on the political spectrum you fall. And really, that's a good thing. I think that needs to be a part of the conversation. And I think you kind of hit on something there. I think educating people is going to be one of the best ways for people to stay not just informed, but ahead of this changes the ever changing landscape of drones. What are there any other contingencies that you see in place? And like, do you see maybe one day it becoming like a licensed thing, just like drivers, where we all have to go get drone licenses?
So it's difficult to say right now. Obviously, the Part 107 is in place for the remote pilot in command for flying your aircraft in person, and then, of course, getting waivers to fly beyond visual line of sight or multiple aircraft at a time. Both Don and myself have flown under those kind of waivers in the past while being Part 107 certified. But then there's also what the future of Part 108 is, because Part 107, it's become normalized where it can be easy to acquire a Part 107. It's not that difficult, not too hard. There's some mentionings going on around in the industry that I've heard at expos in the past of pushing for having a practical examination as part of the Part 107 to be added, which personally and professionally, I for one am all for, as I've operated in other countries, and even when I was over in the Philippines in 2017 doing GIS mapping missions for post-hurricane analysis before we could fly, even if since we had a Part 107 and they were basing theirs off the Part 107, we still had to show the Civil Aviation Authority our practical flight skills, that we can handle fail-safes and all that stuff before they allowed us to fly in country. And to me, that's a smart way of doing it. So we may see an additional increase, which we at SDI already had on, because we want to have those students getting those practical skills alongside of studying for that 107. And then 108 brings a whole new dynamic to this, that those who have operated under waivers, I'd say, have a glimpse of or can prepare for, or those who are actively involved with the FAA right now, and those kind of efforts are getting a bit of a head notice on or have already prepared for. But now, instead of a lot of applications being manual stick stuff, it's going to be a lot of Q ground control style control, where you're plotting waypoints. You're uploading those waypoints to the aircraft. You're monitoring the aircraft in flight. You're telling it when to deviate from its flight plan if needed for safety, if it's done manually or autonomously. You're handling sequencing. Essentially, you're transitioning from just being a pilot to being a drone air traffic controller within your own ecosystem. That's the best way I can put it, because when you're flying multiple drones at once, so flying under a multi-UAS waiver in the past for beyond visual line of sight, we had 10 aircraft to one operator. I'd say we got up to around 4 to 5 aircraft proficiently with the hardware and capabilities that we have and being able to monitor it, because we needed to change how the software was set up for us to actively being able to monitor all those things and sequence things better. Because otherwise, as an operator or a flight coordinator, as they're calling it, we were noticing overload, even for short time periods of operation. So now do that for 24/7, and then have flight coordinators rotating out on shifts, and then you have maintenance personnel that need to now fix these aircraft. It changes the dynamic completely. So now there's going to be 2 different mindsets on how you approach operations with Part 107 and Part 108 when that comes out in the future. We're not going to try to guess anymore when Part 108 is coming out. Hopefully it is here, but let's
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
Trying to preempt it would probably cause a lot more issues than good.
Exactly. Exactly. Don, you got something?
Yeah, I just wanted to hit on that point there. One thing that I noticed while reading through the 700 pages of NPRM is that the main thing that 108 is trying to accomplish is that they're shifting the responsibility of the operator in Part 107 to companies and organizations where flight coordinators and flight supervisors work under that organization. So I think the goal of 108 is they're trying to shift the responsibility to companies and organizations that are allowed to fly under 108.
I see. That makes sense. That's interesting though, because I feel like that may be an area of opportunity for not just us, but for SDI. People entering the workforce, and that
Uh,
kind of leads to like my next question too. Like, so SDI has been doing this for a while. What has that evolution of the student looked like? And then was your implementation of Zephyr, did that change kind of that portrait overall, like and through matriculation and job finding and the whole gambit?
so Zephyr used to be just in UAS 101, where we had that first exposure hands-on with the drone, but they went through the simulator before they went on to the live aircraft flight. When I came in, there wasn't a lot of that practical in UAS 250, but since we did revisions to UAS 250 as part of the associate's degree efforts, we now have practical flight assignments throughout UAS 250 as well, which are structured in the same way we have them structured in UAS 101, to where you're going through this, we're showing you a brief video of what the maneuver looks like, both live and animations, anything we can to paint the picture for you. And then you're going into Zephyr, going into the assigned module, and you're practicing until you get a certain grade in that. And you keep practicing. We even recommend a certain amount of hours. But then from there, their actual practical assignment is taking the drone that we send them, going outside, flying it, videoing it, and sending it to us.
Oh, cool.
So we see if they're actually doing the practice in Zephyr as an instructor, because we have that course access to it. And then we see the end goal. So we can see the progression throughout the student's timeline. But those are the two main classes. But as Zephyr releases more modules and capabilities that are industry specific and focused, like the FLIR one coming out, we can utilize that in different classes. And we already have other classes that we can implement that into. But it goes, there's a lot of interesting parts that you brought up to the factor of we're shifting from not just the piloting side and what Don said to the manufacturer side. So part of that associate's degree program is focused more on the drone development and flight testing, because we want to make sure that students are prepared for that. Because right now we're already in the midst of that shift with drone dominance and now the FCC covered list. There's a ton more coming into this field that want to be a startup, develop drones, be a competitor in the space, either be for Department of War, Department of Defense, or for the commercial applications, or even just the hobbyist space as well. So we're seeing all those coming in. And at the start of this program, we saw individuals who were interested in it as a hobby, or maybe something we could do as a side gig, be a contractor for, and so forth. Now we're seeing a large influx from all walks of life, even individuals who have prior experience flying these extensively. I mean, for years, coming in and wanting to learn a little bit more, not just because they know the fly side already, but now they want to learn the development side of it. So it's pretty cool to see how that shift's been happening over the last, I want to say, year for now.
And
Bo,
one of
your
the
clicking
big,
is really
yeah,
loud.
exactly.
Sorry.
Put your keyboard soft touch.
What
But,
great mechanical keyboard is that?
He's got a $178,
I've got a DOS keyboard. It's mechanical. I was told to buy it. So sorry. I noticed that I hadn't updated the stream title yet. And I was just doing that real quick, but I thought I was gonna be sneakier.
It's called the mute button. Anyway, so one thing I want to touch on.
Okay.
One thing I want to touch on about that student population, really the associate's degree really changed the demographic of our student. tenfold, just because when we first started, we had a 4-class certificate program that was more geared towards the hobbyist. You know, I want
Mhm.
to learn how to fly. I want to get my Part 107. I want to do this as a side hustle and take real estate photos or
Mhm.
whatever it may be. But now the associates gets into so much that you can build that career off of that. The certificate is a great way to kind of dip your toe in the water of the UAS space.
Right.
And a lot of our students, you know, they come from the gun side and they're like, you know what, this drone side seems cool too. So they'll start out there. But now with, you know, articulation agreements with like Embry Riddle and stuff like that, you know, we're getting, I guess, a different demographic of student that wants to turn this into something that they can utilize. And it's something I always say, it's, you don't know what you want till you know what you can get. And so
Sure.
for
Mhm.
folks who get into that associate's degree program, they're finding out about like GIS and thermography and all this stuff that me personally, I didn't know about until I started, you know, talking about this program. You might end up in a spot where you didn't even know you'd go.
Mhm.
That's so true. I wish I could go back and find younger me and be like, "Don't listen to your guidance counselor. There is
Yeah.
so much more out there in the world that you could possibly do because you don't know until you're exposed to it."
Mhm.
And the world is a great big place with a lot of stuff going on. And to that point, how long do you guys think it is before you see the opposite side of this thing that we find ourselves in to become more commonplace, like the anti UAS um, jobs or movement or
Oh,
technology that's starting to spring up.
oh, I love this question. So you're talking about like counter UAS, right?
Right, counter UAS, anti UA, whatever. And we could probably talk for hours about how we decided to shoot a mylar balloon yesterday in El Paso. But I do think that that is something that I keep hearing about in the the common thread.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because some of the students that go to that want to get into our program are more interested in that side. But in
Interesting.
order to know how to counter something, you must first learn how it works.
Of
Know your
course,
enemy, right?
Sun Tzu.
Exactly. You got it. So I swear, every time I bring up that scene, they know who it's from. So
I thought it was Yoda. So
Mhm.
not Obi-Wan. All right. But in any case, we have students in the program that are of that focus. They want to get into the counter UAS side, but first they need to know how they work. And especially in the associate's degree, because we don't just focus on the ready-made systems. We focus on systems that are now going to become a lot more commonplace. They're the systems that are built from existing components manufacturers that are put together to make a system work or make a drone work. We make them think through the flight testing side, how they're developed, how to go through those phases, how to test everything, how to understand how they work, even as far down as the flight control algorithms.
Mhm.
Because if you know the internal workings of that system, even to that placement, you can know how to mess with the system in a way.
Sure.
And it's not just for like the DoD side. Think about it from a commercial use case side or safety use case side. There is always the solution of kinetic force,
Mhm.
right? That's always a counter UAS argument that you can always use kinetic force. Well, what if you want to install a counter UAS system around an airport?
Mhm.
That airport has a busy metropolitan area, like Newark, for example, or
Mhm.
JFK. Are you just going to shoot down a drone that could be over someone's house or a roadway?
Right.
No, you gotta find a different avenue. Otherwise, you're creating additional risk. So
Mhm.
WAS is more than just the Department of War side or defense side. It's also on the commercial side because in reality, if we have more people that have nefarious purposes and want to go and fly and disrupt air traffic, they can do so, right?
Sure.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
there's
you're
nothing
absolutely
really
right.
preventing it. So it's interesting to see even those students coming into our programs for those reasons. It's cool to see that we can service both those who want to work in the drone industry, develop them, use them, and those who want to counter them as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. It's only going to grow and expand as it reaches into other industries and the commercial side. Um, which I guess is that a plan for SDI to continue to grow? Is will this go beyond associates? Will this go into certifications? Like where does that evolution take us?
So I can't be too specific
Sure.
because for the idea is always growth, right?
Sure.
Mhm.
So of course we're looking at ideas of additional certificate programs and things
Mhm.
like that that are more down a specific pathway. Like CUTAS is great for getting started. If you really don't know where to start or don't know where to begin, or you're just somewhat interested, or you want to just become a commercial pilot and get involved in commercial flight operations in general and get started in the industry, CUTAS is the certificate is the great path for you. If you already know what you're looking to do, ASCT is that path. But what if it's not development, or maybe you want to learn about maintenance or something like that?
Uh-huh.
What other pathways do we have? So we're looking into options and opportunities of what can we make in the future that will meet a soon to be demand. Like, for example, I keep going back to Part 108 as an example because of the operational mentality. Once you're able to fly beyond visual line of sight and multiple aircraft per operator 24/7, these aircraft are going to build up much more flight hours in a shorter period of time. So you're going to need technicians and a stable amount of technicians to keep these fleets operational reliably.
Very
Because
true.
the aircraft is one aircraft is none. The more aircraft backups you have, the better. But the
Right.
goal is don't let them get to a point where they crash. Because if they crash, that's a huge safety issue, especially at the scale that we'll be operating at in Part 108 in the future, presumably. Of course, we'll see how things play out, but it is going to be interesting to see for sure.
I agree, and I guess that kind of begs the question, like, let's say Bo wants to get into this, like, he's fresh out of school, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to grab the world by the horns. What are some questions that he maybe would wanna consider, when, you know, looking at SDI, looking at drones? Like, what are some things that maybe he should start kind of percolating now to help him make that decision?
Well, I think it's best if you get two perspectives on this. Don, what's your thoughts on that?
My first perspective is you kind of have to find what makes you tick. Like what's interesting in the UAS space that you want to pursue that have some sort of goal and objective.
I'm sitting here just like I didn't sign up for therapy. Come on now.
I mean, and
Always.
sometimes you'll figure that out along the way, but
Mhm.
and you might not have to have it right away, but along the line somewhere something's got to, click inside you and say, yeah, this is what interests me. For me, it was knowing the drone system. I watched some videos and the guy was flying through some trees. He had a pair of goggles on and I said, how is that even possible? Like, this is the first time I'm seeing this. And it turns out he built his own drone. So from there, I just learned how to build a drone, and then it became a hobby, but then also a career and passion at the same time. It's just something I kind of fell into. But, in the beginning, I just said, well, let's get started and let's figure this out. And then along the way, I figured out what I like to do.
That is the big factor. It's getting started because if you're looking to get into the industry and you really don't know what the industry has to offer, and the crazy thing is that the deeper you dig, the bigger this industry expands. It doesn't get smaller by any means because most people can divvy it up into two sides. There's the commercial and the pilots. There's those applications, the users of the tool, right? Because drones are a tool, and then
Mhm.
there are the developers, the engineers, the manufacturers of that tool. So in reality, if you don't know, like if someone was asking, like, I want to get into the industry, but I really don't know where to start, but I want something to at least get me going. SDI certificate program, that's what it's meant for. It's supposed to give you that exposure, get you started with practical hands-on exposure and experience, give you additional resources, open your mind to what's going on in the industry in full and what all these different pathways are as well. I mean, outside of just our career services department and our admissions personnel as well. But what we have set up here at SDI is that okay, you go through the certificate program, and like Christian said, I've now figured out what I want to do in this
Mhm.
industry. Maybe I want to be an engineer. Maybe I want to be a flight test engineer. I want to test these things. I want to go out and see how they fail. I want to collect data, see how they crash. Like I want to see one from start, from being an idea in someone's mind to a finished product that now thousands of people are using. It's a really cool feeling. I'm not trying to advocate that as a pathway, obviously, but it
No,
is
but it
kind
is
of
a
fun.
pathway, and I think
It is
that's important.
exactly.
And knowing that
So
those pathways exist, and that's how one can organically, you know, get into this, and
exactly.
that can be their trajectory. That's really cool. I think that's really meaningful.
Because the associate's degree program includes those 4 courses that have a certificate. So by someone starting with the certificate, if they decide to continue, they're not necessarily missing out. They don't have to necessarily redo something that they've already done. They've already been through it. So 4 courses are already out of the way for their associate's degree program when they go through that certificate program, if they decide to continue. And we've had students that come in wanting to be pilots first off, but then they get into the UAS 213 class, the design, build, and fly class, and something clicks to what they are now full bore into wanting to develop these things, build them, swap out the GPS module for something maybe a little bit better and test it out, see how it performs, record it. Like, and they're even making videos about it and posting it on YouTube. It's so cool to see some of our students going out and doing these things and then finding that direction and that pathway. So that's what I would suggest is first ask yourself what you want to be involved with in the industry. If you know, associate's degree program, because there's a pathway there and it's direct for you. If you're not sure, figure out the industry. And then from there, you can decide a pathway. And even when you're on that pathway, you may find something that interests you more, that causes a change. It's hard to say you're going to start on this, you're going to stick with this pathway. It's, from my experience, pilot, technician, trainer, operations manager, I've had to be involved in all of it. And I like it all. So it's interesting to go down that pathway.
No, that's
I'm gonna piggyback on that just to prove your point here. I have a friend, and I won't name his name, but he went to school in the UAS program, and he had no idea what he wanted to do. But he took one class on GIS, and he was hooked. He was just totally hooked, and he moved to New Jersey, got a job there. It was too cold, moved back, did some more work. And eventually he just kind of
understand.
I mean, seriously.
New England isn't, the thing for everybody. So
yeah. Talk more about how I've still got a foot and a half of snow out here, and it's treacherous.
It's pretty bright over there, sunny in the Riverside studio, though.
That's right. Yeah, we got sun pouring in, but it's all reflecting off the mountain of white and slightly gray snow we have out there.
If it's sunny and there's still snow on the ground, it will blind you because it is.
Oh yeah. Snow blindness is some real stuff, man.
Yeah. The worst thing is just all the ice on the streets. I've said that last time too. Just nothing more dangerous. You got to watch out. Let your neighbors know to watch out for ice out there.
Yes.
Pretty terrible.
About your friend.
point I'm trying to make is he quit school, and that's his passion, and that's what he's doing is GIS stuff, and he's loving it ever since. So sometimes it's just a process of getting started and figuring out what you really like, and then just going for it.
I was going to say I have a passion for quitting school too.
So if you're a student at SDI, keep going.
Yeah, for sure. if you're doing a thing and you're passionate about it, for sure, go for it. But when I did the jump from high school to college, it just felt like more high school, and I was like, I'm good. So
that's the wrong way. That's if something's structured like that, that's the wrong way of doing it. You got to feel like it's an actual growth. You got to feel like it's almost a pseudo on the job training.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're right there. I think that you see that kind of develop more, especially within the last, I would say, 10 years, which I was a 7-year college student to get a 4-year degree finally in marketing after trying a myriad of other things. Spent more time in the theater than anything else. But I think when it does change from coursework to passion, that's when you start to make that long-term connection in it. And it's awesome to see that SDI has that mindset going in at the ground floor. It's like, let's find what you're passionate about. If this is what you're into, let's take it to the nth degree. And the fact that we get to be a part of that experience for them is incredible. And I hope, which not begging for testimonials, but I'm hoping that your students have good feedback about using the product and how it has, applied to their schooling, their training, and then hopefully entering the workforce.
I mean, either good or bad, either way kind of helps us. So
you guys hear about both on the back end, and then we see good performance overall when it comes to their assignments. Because for them to get to that point in their assignments, and like if they're getting good grades on their practical assignments for the flight maneuvers that we're having them use Zephyr to practice building up to, it's a testimonial to them using Zephyr to prep for that, right? And the big thing is you know, and, there's always the other metric of like how many students out of the hundreds that we do actually crash the aircraft comparison to not crashing. Well, it's a very low amount, actually.
That's awesome. That's
I would
really good to
expect
hear.
more crashes if there wasn't a simulator.
Yeah.
So it's definitely good to see that, because that first crash for anyone when they're first getting started in the drone industry is for me, it was debilitating when I started for radio controlled aircraft.
Well, my first crash was into a coat rack at the hotel when I was going to do my APSA training.
Gotcha.
Turned it on in the hotel room. Flew right into my coat. It was awful.
I think we've all had those experiences.
It could have been a TV, so it could have been worse.
True.
Yeah,
Very true.
It could have been a motorized aircraft, which is what this controller is from. In the past, I went up, thing went too high up. I went down, nose into the ground, engine halfway back through the airframe.
Yikes.
Like, well, there goes $700 of my allowance.
Oh man,
that's awesome. Guys, I appreciate the time that we've had with you so far. It's been an absolute treat. It's really cool to be a part of your program. I can't thank you guys enough for letting us take up some space and help those students, uh, matriculate, make it through, and then enter the workforce. Because I keep saying it, we're all strapped at the front of this bullet train that is drones, and just trying to stay ahead of the wave. And with groups like SDI, I feel like that is an actual tangible goal for all of us, trying to be thoughtful as we move into this space. Just the approach, the passion driven approach, the real world application is just incredibly important. And the systems that you have set up, they are a great metric for success. So
Well,
good
thanks,
on you
man.
guys, and again, thanks for letting us be a part of that. It's really awesome. Yeah, Bo, do you have any other? Did I miss any questions? Anything you want to?
No, I mean, we pretty much well encapsulated what we went above and beyond what I was hoping to get from this.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thanks for being our first
You
actual.
didn't expect a lot from us, I guess. I was ready for a few more hours.
Christian, when you set the bar, like you're just going to be bored.
So
engineer you in, keep your expectations low, and you'll be surprised.
That's odd. I mean, to be fair, it's Dustin and I have a penchant for derailing conversations into things they definitely don't need to be on, especially on the company live stream.
Derailing, devolving,
derangement,
interior need derangement.
But no, you guys have been excellent guests. We thank you for your time.
Tell the people where they can find you, where they can learn more about you.
Yes.
Like maybe a podcast that features two big bearded dudes on it,
maybe.
Well, that podcast came out today, so you can go to Sonoran Desert Institute's YouTube site. Follow us on socials, SDI_school on all of them, LinkedIn. If you want more information about our programs, you just got to go to www.sdi.edu. You'll click on the request more information button, and then just talk to people. Peruse our website, our costs, our funding options, the curriculum, course descriptions, all that stuff's on there. Whether it's drone side, gun side. Obviously, we talked about passion. If you come to SDI, you have a passion for some particular thing. So, and I think we do it well, quite well.
I think so too. That's awesome. And again, if there's any other questions that anybody has for us, the conversation doesn't stop here. You can check out our socials, especially LinkedIn or here on YouTube. Come visit our site. Where we try to be a conduit between both. If you're contemplating, furthering your education, reaching a work site goal, let us hook you up with the fine folks at SDI. Also, we're happy to do it, and we'll have more updates coming up soon. Bo, Christian, Don, James, thank you guys so much for this. An absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. Great being here.
Yep.
Hey, guys.
I'll take us into the ending soon screen if nobody has anything else to say.
Nope. Just be good to one another. Look out for your neighbor and don't let the ice hurt you.
Unless they make
It's
you
out
mad.
Go mess up some ice.
Oh my god.
That's what I said. Got to be careful out there. It's tough.
All right. Silence, y'all.
Bye.